Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening to all out there. Welcome to Kush News on the Kush Convos TV network. I'm Ochanda. This is the weekend edition. Let's go ahead with your top stories going on in Africa and the Caribbean. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken of the United States will visit Addis Ababa in Ethiopia on March 14th and 15th to hold talks with the Ethiopian government and leaders of the Tigray forces to discuss the fragile peace process that has ended the 2-year conflict which claims thousands of lives. The trip, which also includes a stopover in Niger, is one of a series of Africa journeys this year by a top-level administration officials from the United States. United States Vice President Kamala Harris is likely to be next on that list, with a visit expected to focus on women in technology and include stops in Tanzania and Ghana. While in Addis, Blinken will also meet with African Union Commission Chairperson Musa Faki Mahat to discuss shared global and regional priorities and follow up on commitments from the U.S.-Africa Leaders Summit regarding food security, climate, and energy transition. The African diaspora, the global health, the State Department said in a statement. On March 16th, Blinken will make the first visit by U.S. Secretary of State to Niger, where he will discuss security cooperation in the Sahel region with President Mohamed Bazoum and Foreign Minister Hassoumi. Anybody in the Sahel region or in Ethiopia, let us know in the comments below. Also, anybody in the United States paying attention to that, let us know. Let's go to Central Africa. Cameroon says rebel attacks intensify to disrupt March 12th Senate elections. Voice of America reports that in Yaoundé, Cameroon's military says separatists in its northwest region have blocked roads and attacked military vehicles to disrupt Sunday's Senate elections. Witnesses say several bodies were seen around the destroyed vehicles. The military has not confirmed any casualties and vowed to protect voting despite the rebel blockade. Cameroon's government troops exchanged fire with separatists fighting in Tadou, a village in the Central African state's northwest region. In the audio extracted from a video shared on social media, a man identifying himself as separatist General Viper says fighters will chase out or kill government troops deployed to protect voters in Cameroon's March 12th senatorial election. Cameroon Senate, the upper house of parliament, has 100 seats. The election will be held for 70 seats. The other 30 will be appointed by President Paul Biya. The military confirms that the video was taken in Tadou on Thursday. The military says besides Tadou village, government troops have fought gun battles with separatist fighters in several dozen locations, including Bamenda, Diop, Yum, Jakiri, Oku, Bamili, and Sagba in the northwest region, and Manif, Menji, and Tiko in the southwest region. The government says several military vehicles have been destroyed by impoverished bombs planted by separatists in the northwest. Army captain and spokesperson refused to comment on a number of troops killed, but said about 24 fighters have died in the past 2 weeks. Separatists who have vowed to disrupt the elections in the English-speaking Western regions launched their rebellion in 2017, after what they said was years of discrimination by the country's French-speaking majority. The conflict has killed more than 3,500 people and displaced more than 500,000, according to the United Nations. Anybody in the Central African region? Anybody in Cameroon? Anybody on the ground? Reach on out to us. Any Cameroonians? Leave a comment below. Let's go to East Africa, in Kenya. Odinga to lead anti-government protests in the county of Nyarok. Azimio leader Raila Odinga will lead another anti-government protest in Nyarok County on Saturday. The Azimio caravan will tour the region as part of their ongoing efforts to push the government to heed their demands, key among them lowering the cost of living. The Nyarok mass action comes a day after Odinga announced a return of product boycotts, such as eggs, as part of the coalition strategy to make President William Ruto specifically pay attention to them. Odinga said, quote unquote, "We will release a list of products and companies used by this illegitimate regime." The veteran opposition leader, in fact, used the same strategy back in 2018 against the Jubilee government, where he listed the companies and products that he urged his supporters to boycott. The boycott lasted for several weeks and was accompanied by protests and other forms of civil disobedience. Some of these companies included Hacko Industries, Safaricom, Airtel, and Brookside, among others. The nationwide civil disobedience by Odinga and his team followed the lapse of a 14-day ultimatum that he had given the government to address certain issues, including the restoration of food subsidies and a reduction in taxes. The mass action, according to Odinga, will subsequently culminate in a final meeting in Nairobi on March 20th, 2023, where all the supporters will converge in the city for joint protests. Odinga said, "On March 20th, we have a date with Destiny in Nairobi. On that day, our supporters from across the country will stage peaceful protests against this illegitimate regime." President Ruto has been bullish and told off Odinga that he will not entertain him and his intimidation tactics, with his focus being on service delivery to Kenyans. Anybody in East Africa? Anybody in Kenya? Let us know what's going on. Drop a comment below. Let's go back to Central Africa in the Democratic Republic of Congo. An overnight attack on a village in Eastern Democratic Republic Congo, allegedly by Allied Democratic Forces militants with ties to Islamic State, has left approximately 36 people dead and several villagers still missing. The head of a civil society group, Mumbere Limbadu Arsene, said the modus operandi suggested that the Allied Democratic Forces was behind the attack, since no shots were fired. There was a United Nations Secretary delegation that was due to arrive on March 9th for a 3-day visit to the country. The visit will follow an advancement by M23 fighters who are threatened to cut off all road links to Goma, which is the largest city in Democratic Republic of Congo's mineral-rich east. It also comes as the country steps up its pressure on the international community to pursue sanctions against Rwanda for its alleged military support to the M23 rebellion. Anybody in Congo? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Let's go to the Caribbean. Caribbean seas jump in visitors since the pandemic has begun. Tourists have flocked to the Caribbean last year in numbers not seen since the pandemic began, which the Dutch Caribbean and U.S. territories like Puerto Rico surpassing even pre-pandemic visitor arrivals, officials said on Tuesday. More than 28 million people visited the region in 2022, more than 50% jump compared with the previous year, according to the Caribbean Tourism Organization. The U.S. market drove more than 50% of arrivals to the region last year, with 14.6 million of U.S. tourists visiting, 3 million more than the previous year. Meanwhile, the number of European visitors nearly doubled to 5.2 million. Visits from Canadians, though, did not rebound as expected. Government, tourism officials, and local businesses in one of the most tourism-dependent regions in the world celebrated the increase in visits. The number of cruise ship visitors also soared last year, with 19.2 million visits reported, 5 times more compared with the previous year. Nearly all destinations reported an increase in visitors, except for Haiti, which saw more than a 20% drop amid political instability. An official for tourism said that he expects overall visits to the Caribbean to increase to 15% this year, possibly surpassing pre-pandemic levels. A record of 32 million people visited the Caribbean nations in 2019, a number that dropped by 65% the following year when the pandemic began. Anybody in the Caribbean? Let us know. Also, we wouldn't mind a cruise here at Kush News. Let's stay in the Caribbean and go to Haiti. Haitian activists urge the United States to stop arms trafficking to gangs. Haitian rights activists back on Wednesday called for a stop to trafficking of weapons into Haiti as the Caribbean state faces a humanitarian crisis driven by gangs who rights groups now say control most of the country. Haiti does not produce weapons, but boys are often seen carrying assault rifles, understood to be mainly from the United States, said a migrant-focused spokesperson of the nonprofit Haitian Bridge Alliance. He said, quote unquote, when we are receiving heavy weaponry from the United States and other international culprits, people can kill with impunity, and we will not see accountability. If we can stop the flow of heavy weaponry into Haiti, then we can start to see relief in sight. Rosie Ducina from the RNDDH Human Rights Network said, the Quest Department, the seat of Haiti's capital, is now under 100% of control of armed gangs. She now estimates that control is 60% of territories nationwide. On average, 15 people are kidnapped, 4 are murdered, and 7 women are raped. More than 600 cases of sexual abuse are reported in the past 7 months in just 4 neighborhoods. We cannot go as activists to serve people in these areas because we are afraid ourselves, and they cannot come to us. She said, pointing to a lack of resources and the killing of fellow activists. Violence does not stop at Haiti's borders, said another activist, saying that every day her organization hears accounts of sexual abuse of migrants crossing into Latin America because of their black skin, and there is no space for them. For those that are in Haiti, let us know. We end the weekend edition for today, March 11, 2023, with the African proverb of the day. And it comes from no particular nation, and it reads, a single stick may smoke, but it will not burn. Once again, a single stick may smoke, but it will not burn. Once again, a single stick may smoke, but it will not burn. We'll leave the African proverb of the day in the description box below. This is Kush News on the Kush Convos TV YouTube channel. I'm Ochanda. Thanks again for choosing Kush News Weekend Edition. Enjoy.